Good morning. I'm Julio Saenz along with Mauricio Riveros. Today we'll meet the managing director of Luminate and learn about this organization that's investing in high-tech companies in Rochester and around the world.
We hope you will be inspired.
Celebrating leaders in Rochester's unique and vibrant business community. We'll meet entrepreneurs whose passion and perseverance have helped push through life's challenges. Join us as we share their stories and journeys to success. It's time to be inspired.
Sujatha, thank you very much for being Be Inspired, a show that we develop to inspire our community, interview entrepreneurs, people who are investing, taking risks. This is the idea of Be Inspired, and today we have the honor to have you in the program, somebody who interacts with a lot of entrepreneurs to your organization. But before we talk about your organization and what you do in your organization, let's talk about who is Sujatha.
Okay. Where would you like me to start?
Wherever you want. You can start in your life, early in your career. How did you arrive to Rochester? Tell us as much as you want.
So I arrived to Rochester because I married a man who worked in Rochester. That's how I ended up here. I've been around a bit in a bunch of different companies. I'm an electrical engineer. I have a PhD in electrical engineering from the University of Michigan. And I have over the years worked for different types of companies. I worked for GE for a while. I worked for Chrysler. I worked for Kodak for many years. I worked for Carestream. I also have been involved with 3 different startups. Early in my career, I was with a cardiology startup. Before I went to graduate school, I was with a communication startup between undergraduate and graduate school, between graduate school and working for Kodak. And then I left Carestream to help found a material science business in this area. So 2 out of the 3 of them did quite well. The third one was a bit rockier, but that's startups. And then I was consulting for a while, and I chose to come and join NextCore when Jim and others told me about this great opportunity where there are all these companies that need some assistance. And I thought about it. I thought about the ability to construct a program that offered to companies what I wanted when I was an entrepreneur, those things that would have been really helpful if I could have had those resources, people, skills, just knowledge available to me when I was an entrepreneur, and offer that up to other companies coming up. So that was the highlight of what I was trying to do. My business background itself is largely electrical imaging type of technology. So I worked in printing and in digital cinema. And from a device or solid state physics position for a long time, I did cardiology devices like scalpels and again laser scalpels. I worked in mammography for many years across different jobs where it was a lot of breast cancer detection, and those jobs, because it was actually more than one, had me setting up sites all over the world. So it was kind of exciting to get care in the hands of people everywhere. And I've been fortunate because I've been able to be with all these different types of industries and these different companies and seen what we could be doing. And also got to really get to know the region well after I came here and started working for Kodak when I married a man who works for Kodak. And so that got me really plugged into the resources. And this is really kind of a great area. Just so many good things that, not just professionally, but personally, there's so many fun things that I got to do, which I think would have been tougher in some of the other areas.
Very good, very good. So tell us a little bit about Luminate. Tell us about your organization and what it does.
So Luminate is both an investment fund and an accelerator. And every year we select 10 companies from around the world to come and work with us in Rochester. And we invest $100,000 seed investment with the idea that they need to spend that money here. And we really work with them. We help them build their business. We help them build their business models. We help them get plugged into the industry, help them get their supply chain together. And at the end of 6 months, we choose 1 or more companies to do further investment up to $1 million in. So at this point, we have approximately 40 companies in our portfolio. Most of them are still doing quite well. We've been in business for about 4 years now. We've lost 1 company recently during COVID. One of the companies didn't survive it, but 39 of them are doing fine. And it's been very, very exciting. It's been fun watching them grow. It's been fun seeing some really different technologies and different marketplaces that they're after. It's kind of like a sci-fi look into the future. So I really enjoy it.
So you are basically running a program that is global, different countries, different initiatives, different cultures, different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And the question that I have is, okay, well, Rochester, and why Rochester, and how that benefits Rochester?
So it benefits Rochester right off the bat, I can tell you, because we're bringing all these companies. All of these companies do some element of business here. If they don't actually completely relocate their business to the Rochester area, they at least put their supply chain or their, their manufacturing will be here, or their clinical trials will be here. So something substantial has to happen here for us to invest in that business. So it grows employment. I think that we're probably, between the companies and some of the other, other employment that comes from having these companies here, the resources that they're tapping, probably created about 100 jobs and growing. When we invest money, it also means that others invest money. So if we put, say, 7 million to date in different companies, well, between grants and other investors and people seeing what's coming out of Luminate's really healthy, they've mirrored it with another $26 to $27 million into those companies that are in turn working in this region. So it's bringing money, it's bringing companies, it's bringing employment, it's bringing a lot, I think, positive attention to all of the incredible things that are happening in the Rochester area, particularly in the optics and photonics industry. So I think it's really good for the economic health of the region. And I think companies like it because they have access to so many resources. They have access to the 250 or 150 optics and photonics companies that are in the Finger Lakes region. They have access to the universities like University of Rochester, RIT, Cornell. All of them are easy for them to get to. They have access to AIM. They have access to so many things that can help them grow their business.
Yeah, I'm fascinated, and you left me intrigued with the comment on the futuristic technologies that you're working on there. Can you share a few of them with us? Some of the stuff that's being worked on?
Yeah, I mean, every year we have these different technologies, and they fall into different categories. Like you have medical device and medical innovation. We have a young woman who has a business where she detects bed sores and diabetic foot ulcers just by scanning, which is really critical because bed sores are really hard to detect and can actually be fatal. So they can scan for them. So it's really kind of exciting that she can do that. We have all kinds of things across the ophthalmology scale, ranging from how do you detect disease to, hey, put this on and see how your surgery is going to turn out and how your correct vision will look, and is it worth it, to the surgical assistance, to the post-surgical follow-up, so the entire chain. We have exciting, like really interesting security and quantum technologies coming out, and I think that those are going to be a little bit on the long growth plan. But to put this in perspective, when you do something, when you have a security code, whether it's a finance or for your computer, for your VPN or whatever, they say, oh, you're randomly generated, whatever. It's really never random. Okay, there's some kind of seeding algorithm behind it. So when you think it's random, it's not. We had one of the companies come in here with an optical principle that shows that they can actually create that completely randomly. And that just changes security and makes security actually secure. So that's, and it's fast, right? Because, it's optics. It's very, very interesting when people do things like that. This year's cohort has a lot of really core scientific technologies and different we have a LiDAR company. We have a company that's looking at early crash detection so that your car can adjust itself before the impact. Not just, you've hit, normally you have crash detection to avoid the accident. Like sometimes you have those cars that have automatic braking, or you have technology that says, okay, now I hit something, airbag deploy. But it would be kind of nice if in that you haven't hit the brake and it's not happening fast enough, but let's adjust your car so this isn't as bad as it could be. So it's one of those types of technologies. See you. And there's just so many exciting things. We've had a wearable. So at one of our cohort, 2 companies won the NFL challenge for their wearable technology for athletes. It's pretty cool. It's sensors will help them train athletes.
What is beautiful, Sujatha, is that it's happening here in Rochester.
It is.
It's a place that has such an incredible brain power. The universities, the research, the development, and the tradition that we have, even that, the tradition that the big companies left us, but now with the small entrepreneurs and multiple people who are thinking in different ways, in a creative way, having your organization in the heart, helping them, supporting them. So let's say if I have an idea in photonics, what do I do? How can I connect with you? What are the things what are the steps that these entrepreneurs need to follow to connect with your organization?
Well, our organization is pretty easy. You send us an email. Or go to our website and send us an email. We're luminate.org. And we do read all of our email and we do respond to it. So that is the fastest and easiest way to get a hold of us. In general, for an entrepreneur, the thing that I always tell people is you have this great idea. At least you think it's great. And then you go tell your mom and mom thinks it's great, but mom thinks everything's great that comes out of baby's mouth. So the thing to do is go out and talk to people. Go out, find out who's in that industry and just go start talking to them and say, hey, what if you could? Is that interesting? Because in the end, somebody has to like it enough to pay for it. And that's probably not, and your mom's not going to be enough. So you need to go out and talk to everybody, and I'll help you change your idea around so it becomes more palatable. It's not, because nothing is ever perfect right out the door, right? You make something and it's good. It's probably really good, but it's not ready until you go and ask people, hey, is this good? Would you like this? And I'm like, I'd like it if you would just make it do this, or if you could make it the software interface a little easier to use, or whatever it is that they want. The more you talk to people, the more perfect your product will be. And the more perfect your product is, the more likely it will sell. And you take that idea and you can come to people like us. You can go, if you're in a university, there's often very good resources. There are grants, both at the state and national level, to help fund really good research. There are a lot of ways to go. And there's a lot of steps before you become fabulously wealthy or whatever it is you seek. It starts with that idea, though. It starts with that idea that you go out and ask people, do you think I have a good idea?
Well, thank you. We'll be back with more after these messages.
Sometimes entrepreneurs are very good in terms of the technical aspect, be able to produce and create things, do the research and development. But then when they need to start working with others and developing relationships and client relationships and the connections and the networks and all those other things that are involving creating a real business, you can be a genius, but then you don't know how to talk with people. You don't know how to develop relationships. What do you guys do to help to compensate, if you want, or to train people to be able to create functional teams in a holistic way?
So I'm glad you said team, because if there's two things that we work on. Number one, I don't really like to take people to this program who are solo acts. A business is a business, and you need at least one other person. You need people with you. And from an investor's point of view, first of all, if you put money into a business and it's just one person, if they win lotto or catch a bad cold, you've lost your money. So you need that risk to be mitigated by having more than one person. And when you have more than one person, balance. So I call it a diversity of opinion, but a commonness of purpose. So if you are a really great scientist, but not a great communicator, make sure the other person's a great communicator. It's okay. No, but nobody can do everything. Everybody has things they're really good at, and everybody has things they kind of struggle at. And as long as you figure out a way in your team to balance that, you will be far more successful for it. And there's also good that comes out of being a little different, right? In one of my previous companies, one of our first hires was a manufacturing engineer, director for manufacturing, who is really good. She's really meticulous. She is detail oriented, and she takes a long time to release something. I'm the other way. I'm just like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And so, but the two of us are good balance, because left to my own devices, we'd be running like chickens out the door because I get so excited we go. I left to her devices, it would be 20 years before we had a product. So the two of us together were very, very good. We're balanced. And so that's kind of what you seek, but you need to have a commonness of purpose. So and I used to think when I was younger, you can work with anybody. That's actually not true. You can't. You have to have a basic common ground of morality, of ethics, of principles, and where you want to go. So are you building a business that's a lifestyle business? Are you trying to exit it? There are different types of businesses. So make sure that you're pointed in the same direction, and that your partners are like-minded in purpose. So as I jokingly say, you know, if you're going to be a villain, you need to surround yourself with supervillains, right? You don't want to have Batman and Lex Luthor on the same team. It doesn't really work out that well. So, or if you're going to be a superhero, surround yourself with other superheroes, but you need to have that commonness of principle.
I have to say, you've offered some of the greatest insights we've had on this show in the last 5 years on, I think, on entrepreneurs and the way they have to think. Is there anyone that inspired you when you started that first business or became part of that first startup?
You know, there were some people that really, really inspired me. And interestingly, it wasn't necessarily that I saw this entrepreneur or that entrepreneur that inspired me. The people that really drove me to go out and do the things I wanted to were basically, you're gonna, not to sound like, that's not totally trite, but my mom was always an inspiration to me. And I say this because she is a very unusual woman. I think of her as like one of the bravest people I've ever met, because, you know, she was 24 when she got married to my dad. And it's in our culture at that time, marriages were predominantly arranged. So she knew my dad, but, you know, not terribly well. But her marriage is arranged. So she hops on a plane and goes to another continent to marry somebody that she doesn't know that well. And my mother had a master's degree in mathematics at this time, so she wasn't like out of a village or something, but she just went and did it. And then, you know, she had the three of us children, which she raised, and she had helped raise her younger brothers and sisters. So her mother had died young, so she raises the three of us, and she's a really bright woman. My mom is incredibly bright. But you know, by the time I hit middle school, I'm afraid my mother's going to see this. I have to edit this so it doesn't sound bad, right? So I hit middle school, and my mother has three children in school, and she is doing a lot of artwork, right? She's doing like macrame and pucks and things, you know, and not that she's doing badly at that, but it's not who she is. And my dad came home one day and he said, you know, you should think about graduate school after looking, you know, at the art projects in our house. And so she went back to graduate school, and she became an editor and a software engineer. But she had this approach that at age 40, she decided that there were things in life that she had never done that she just wanted. And she wanted to ride a bike, and she'd never learned to ride a bike. So there's my mother biking down the street with my dad running next to her, you know, holding up the bike like you do for a little kid. That's my 40-year-old mother biking on down the street, and all the neighbors are cheering. There goes mom. Same thing with swimming. She's going to learn how to swim. She bought a swimsuit and went to the YMCA and signed up. And I see that, you know, she did not let anyone say, it's too late. You're too old, or that's not your role, or you can't. She didn't listen to you can't. She just heard, I think I want to do that. So that to me was really important, because my third startup I joined at close to the age of 40. I had done two startups earlier. I was working comfortably in a very, very good job that I really enjoyed, and to step away from that sense of you know, okay, I could just keep doing this, to do something really, really risky. It's adventurous, it's fun. And so I look at all of those people who have adventures, and I want to be that. I've been on the board of the National Women's Hall of Fame for a number of years and met some really extraordinary women that way. And I've read about some extraordinary women. And recently, I'm just going on, you know, hopefully you can edit me out, but Barbara Hillary, her biography recently, she's a recent inductee. She is the first Black woman to set foot on the North Pole, and then to hike to the South Pole too. She did that when she was 75 years old. She got really into Arctic exploring in her senior citizen years and did not listen to anybody who said, okay, you're a little old to be hiking it to the South Pole. Nonsense, there she was. And in a time, you have to look at the concept of exploring. It has been the domain of the white explorers, because it has to be backed, and you have to have enough money to do this grand exploration, and you have to be able to take 6 months out of your life, and you have to, you know, and also I think that history also didn't necessarily record when indigenous people or somebody else did something. There's not a record of them having done it because they didn't publish it that way. But along comes this woman who's just everything different, and she wanted to see the North Pole, so by golly, go do it. So that sense of adventure calls me. And anybody who embraces that fearless sense of adventure, they inspire me.
Wow. Sujatha, you really have inspired us today. It's just awesome to see your level of knowledge, passion for what you do. And I think the most important part is that you're sending a message that everything is possible when we have a passion and when we have a clear vision. And I just love the example of your mother. I think you are a reward for your mother because you're helping so many entrepreneurs and so many people around the world. So I want to say thank you, and thank you for helping Rochester. Our community needs more people like you. So thank you again, and it was really an honor to interview you today. And I am sure that we will have you in our show in the future, because I'm sure that we'll be seeing more great things coming from your organization. Thank you very much.
Coming up next week on Be Inspired, we'll meet Margaret Brazda-Poirier, owner of Grants for Good, helping nonprofits accomplish their mission. To watch today's episode and the complete interviews of our guests, go to rochesterfirst.com/beinspired. For more great talk with Rochester's entrepreneurs, listen to Bodette 97.1 Saturdays at 9 a.m. For Mauricio Riveros, I'm Julio Saenz. We'll see you next week on Be Inspired.